What's up, Straight Talk Society? This is your host, Trevor, and I am back with another episode of the Straight Talk Sessions. And tonight we have a special show. Tonight we're actually going to have a presentation by my man, Eddie Israel. So before we get into that, let me just go over some quick things that we do have coming up on the channel. Real quick, let me know how my mic sounds, because this is a new mic, so I want to make sure that my stylistic tone does come in. All right, Keela says loud and clear. So this is what I want to do real quick before we go through. Y'all know Eddie. Y'all know how I feel about Eddie, man. Very good brother. So he is going to do his presentation. He's going to have the full time to do his presentation. If we like to keep these shows under 2.5 hours. So if there is time after the fact, then he may allow people to come up and ask questions. But I will say, if you do have any questions regarding his presentation, type it in the chat. Just put a Q in front of your comment, and I will save it and ask him either later when he's done or periodically throughout the presentation, just to break it up, because it's going to be a long presentation, long and very full of information. So I may just throw a question in every now and then, however he wants to do it. I don't want to throw him off, but I do hope that everybody would open their ears, because this is a topic. I've been on YouTube for 3 years, like in a capacity where I've been making myself known, and this is one of those topics that get people going and get people riled up. So he is going to break it down today, and I am waiting with just, what do you call it? My ears are wide open. So real quick, let's just go as we're keeping in this vein. And by the way, I do need some music for these shows. I try not to do my straight talk music on these biblical shows, but I'm gonna need something, because I can't come in here with this cold open like this all the time. So we're gonna have to do something. I know Jansen sent me a song, but I'm waiting for him to tell me if he has the rights to it so I could play it. So we do have coming up next week, I will be doing an interview with Stacey Mobley. Yeah, y'all gonna want to tune into that. That's going to be a fantastic interview. And speaking of brother Stacey Mobley, he has thrown out the debate challenge for any Israelite, any person that says that they are a Hebrew Israelite. He has thrown the challenge out for you to prove that. He gave me some specifics. I'll find that later and I will relay it. I have somebody in mind that I think would take him up on the challenge, but I'm waiting for somebody to come forward. And if not, then I'll get in contact with that person, because I got somebody in mind that I think will take him up on that challenge. But y'all know how Stacey Mobley gets down. He is no joke. And then the following week, we have Brother Duran will be stepping back in the ring to take on Reginald Young. And the name of that debate is, does the Bible teach that the Holy Ghost is God or an angel? That's going to be November 2nd at 6:15 p.m. I'm going to try to get that pushed up to 6 right on the head. I think both brothers will be okay with that, just so we could keep in that time frame. Then the following week, Brother Eddie Israel, is it the following week? Let me see. Hold on. No. So the next debate after that will be Peter and Reggie. So now the topic of this debate is this is a very interesting debate, because both men have made specific claims and they want each other to prove their claims according to the Bible. So it's going to be a 2-part debate in one. It's going to be a 2-round debate. The first round, listen to how this is titled: according to the scriptures, did Peter Cox see God? So that, and Peter is going to have to prove that according to the scriptures, because Reginald Young says that he didn't. And then Peter was like, well, okay, then I need you to answer a question. According to the scriptures, are you called to be a minister? So that's what that debate's going to be, November 16th. Listen, the build up for that debate, the back and forth, the phone calls was insane. So I know that this debate is going to be crazy. This is going to be the first debate that's like kind of subjective, but I did let both brothers know that they have to edify no matter what. So we'll see how this turns out, but that is November 16th. Then, oh, sorry. So I did miss it. October 19th. I did miss Eddie's. I thought it was in November for some reason, but Eddie Israel will be back October 19th, which is next week. And he will be doing part 2 of this presentation. And this one will be entitled, Who Will Be Saved? All the sons and daughter of Adam. See, Eddie's not like the Israelites that I know that yell at you on the street and tell you all white people going to hell and they're going to be slaves in the kingdom and blah, 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 blah. And he's not like that. So y'all make sure and tune into this. This brother wants to see everybody saved. So y'all make sure and tune into that. That's going to be fantastic. Shout out to Jackie McCall, Duran, the best moderator in the business, Keela, the queen of the Straight Talk Society, Nene. So without further ado, I bring to you my man, Eddie Israel. What's going on, Eddie?
All right, how everybody doing tonight?
We're good. We good. Turn up your mic a little bit. Or you know what? Let me turn it up. Make sure you're loud and clear. All right, you should be loud and clear. Oh, you're messing with the volume now. All right, yeah, I got you all the way up. You should be,
all right, can everybody be
loud?
All right, can everybody hear me now?
Yeah. Oh, so Jackie's saying today, you're right, Jackie. I'm listen, I got so much going on. Eddie's presentation is the 26th. That's next, that's next week, Thursday. Yeah, because something was supposed to happen, whatever. So Eddie's taking that spot. So I have on the flyer the 19th, but it's really next Thursday. So yeah, my apologies for that. So shout out to Jansen Williams in the building. So Keela, be on the lookout because those nut bags might be coming over here. Don't even give them a chance. The minute they say one thing crazy, they're out of here. Let them go make their videos by watching this. So y'all make sure and hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And I am going to turn this over to Eddie. So how do you want me to do this, Eddie? I'm going to bring your presentation up.
Yeah, you can bring the presentation up.
All right, your presentation is up. Anything else you need from me? Because I shout out to Adrian Cutler. So I did mention, Eddie, that if anybody has any questions, because we aren't going to have your presentation is long, so you're not gonna we may run out of time. So if anybody has any questions, just put a Q before your comment and I'll save it, and maybe an intermission time or something, I'll ask him whatever questions. So that way, if we don't get to open the panel, which I kind of don't like opening the panel during these things because they get out of hand. But I do want your question to get answered. We just got to keep this thing in a decent time frame, because all my shows have been going at that nice sweet spot of like 2 hours and 30 minutes, less than that. So I'm kind of loving that. So that's how we want to do it. So Eddie, I am going to get off the screen. I'm going to give it all to you. I know you're going to knock it out of the park. So let me decrease. I'll be in the back listening though. If you need me, just give me a holler.
All righty. Appreciate that. All right, well, everybody. For those of y'all that don't know me, I am Eddie Israel, and I'm here to present this to you. I just want to say that I am not I want y'all to read that introduction, because I'm not here to bash on any group of people, or I'm not here to provide any hate, or I'm just here to prove what the Bible says and what history tells us who the true Israelites are of the Bible. So with that being said, I do ask as a prerequisite before I do start this presentation, I would ask that everyone would grab your Bibles because we are going to do some Bible reading as well. Preferably King James, but if you have other Bibles, that's fine as well. And this presentation will actually be starting in the Bible. And so we're going to start this in Deuteronomy 28. And verse 1. So give me 1 second. All righty. So these are the blessings and the curses that the Lord would put on Israel if they would obey or not obey. And so today I am here to show you that we fell under the curses and we did not fall under the blessings. And so, yeah, Deuteronomy 28 and verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. Blessed shall thou be in the city, and blessed shall thou be in the field. Blessed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy ground, and the fruit of thy cattle, and the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. Blessed shall thy basket, blessed shall be thy basket, and thy store. Blessed shall thou be when thou comest in, and blessed shall thou be when thou goest out. The Lord shall cause thine enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before thy face, and they shall come out against thee one way and flee before thee 7 ways. The Lord shall command the blessings upon thee in thy storehouses and in all that thou settest thine hand unto. And he shall bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. The Lord shall establish thee an holy people unto himself, and he hath sworn unto thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God and walk in his ways. And all the people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of the Lord, and they shall be afraid of thee. And the Lord shall make thee plenteous in goods, in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy ground, and in the land which the Lord swore unto thy fathers to give thee. The Lord shall open unto thee his good treasure, the heaven, to give the rain unto thy land in the season, and to bless all the work of thine hand. And thou shalt lend unto many nations, and thou shalt not borrow. And the Lord shall make thee the head and not the tail, and thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath. If that thou hearken unto the commandments of the Lord thy God, which I command thee this day to observe and to do them, and thou shalt not go aside from any words which I command thee this day, to the right hand or to the left, or to go after other gods to serve them. And so we see here that that's a whole lot of blessings that the Lord's going to put on this people if they obeyed, which would be the blessings of obedience. But then you had another set, you had another set of things that the Lord would have put on us if we didn't behave. And so we're going to go down to verse 15, and we're going to start dealing with these curses. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Cursed shall thou be in the city, and cursed shall thou be in the field. So right away we see that he flipped all that around. He just said you're going to be blessed in the city if you behave, but right away he flipped it around. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. Cursed shall thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shall thou be when thou goest out. The Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke in all that thou settest thy hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. The Lord shall make pestilence cleave unto thee, until he have consumed thee from off the land, whither thou goest to possess it. The Lord shall smite thee with the consumption, and with the fever, and with the inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with the sword, and with the blasting, and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish. So we see right there, we see right there, the Lord is saying basically, we're gonna get all those bad diseases and all those uncurable diseases and all those sicknesses that nobody can cure. We always end up getting them. I mean, it's so many, African Americans and other black people of the world that got cancer. They got the HIVs and just a whole bunch of other like uncurable diseases that just hasn't been a cure for them, or they aren't going to be a cure because the Lord decreed it right here. And if we skip down to verse 25, the Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them, and thou shalt be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. So I want to pay attention to that removed part. Now, remove, last time I checked, when I remove something, that means I'm taking it from one place and I'm putting it in another place. So if it said these people go be removed, that sounds like to me somebody gonna be forcibly taken somewhere. And thy carcass shall be meat unto all the fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. The Lord will smite thee with the botch of Egypt, and with the emerods, and with the scab, and with the itch, whereof thou canst not be healed. He said it again right here in 27. The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment in the heart. And thou shalt grope at noonday, and the blind as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. And so paying attention to that 29th verse, it said that no man shall save thee, and we was just only gonna be spoiled. How many people live off our culture, but they don't want nothing to do with us? And it don't matter what it is. It don't matter. I mean, how many inventions did the black man or the black woman invent? And another group of people just took credit for it. That's those curses we fought. That's those curses we fell under. And also it said that no man shall save thee. How many other groups got reparations? We still ain't got no reparations. Not even in the least bit. And we're not gonna get no reparations because we came over here basically to be punished. We didn't come over here to get that. We didn't come over here to be real. We came over here to be a flock of the slaughter, and I'm gonna show y'all that later on. But if you take hold of this law and you take hold and you do what the Lord tell you to do, He said He'll build a sanctuary to you. Now in verse 30, it says, "Thou shalt betroth the wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build the house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant the vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof." So I mean that verse is self-explanatory. It pretty much speaks for itself. I mean, I don't know how many. I mean, we see it in the movies. We see it all throughout history, and we see it everywhere. I mean, about the slave women making our men do everything, and even the slave masters, they taking our women. They had children with them. And you couldn't do nothing about it. You had to keep working in the field. And we seen what happened in some of those movies. And the movie with David Banner, I can't think of the name of it, but when he tried to rise up, and he looked at that guy wrong after he laid with his wife, and he shot him on the spot. It wasn't none. You ain't have no hope. No hope. We planted all these fields, and we never even got a chance to even deal with any of it. They gave us the scraps, and they gave us all this other stuff to cook with. We didn't have the good stuff to cook with. Everything good we cook, we had to cook it for them. That's where we get all the pig feet and the pork chops and the chitlins and all this stuff that's not good for us to eat. That's a slave diet. You know, and this not to attack nobody. This not to attack nobody. But I'm just I'm just showing y'all these things. All right, so we're gonna skip down to verse 32. It said, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thy eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thy hand. So could we stop any of them from selling our families in the sweat, no matter where we found ourselves at, whether it was here or whether it was, whether it was whether it was in Europe, or whether it was on those islands, or whether it was in some of the Arab nations, or whether it was in a lot of those nations of Africa. Who could we stop from taking our sons and daughters away from us when they started to sell us away? We couldn't stop them at all. It was nothing we could do about that. They broke families up, and some of them never saw their family members again. They got taken away from their families when they was young, and they end up getting sold to another plantation, and they just never saw them again. So to verse 33, the fruit of thy land and all thy labor shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be on your press and crush always. So that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. All right, skipping down to verse 36. I'm gonna throw that verse 35 in there because he said again here, and the Lord shall smite thee in the knees and in the legs with the sore botch that cannot be healed, from the sole of thy feet unto the top of thy head. So that's 3 times. That's 3 times just in this one chapter that the Lord done told you that if you don't listen, you don't follow the words of this law, that one of these curses is he gonna smite you with all those uncurable diseases. 3 times he done said that by now. The Lord shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee. So I mean, we didn't know nothing about these we didn't know nothing about these other gods, and like I said, it's not trying to attack nobody, but we didn't know nothing about the God of Christmas and the God of Easter, and the God of Halloween, and we didn't know, our forefathers didn't know these gods. We knew nothing about this stuff. But we ended up serving these gods. We didn't know nothing about her. We didn't know nothing about, no Mary or no praying to no Madonna worship. That's idol worship. We ain't know about no gods of wood and stone. But here we are. You on your own time, you can go and read in Jeremiah 10 where it talks about, the Christmas tree being the idol. On your own time, though. And it says it's gonna become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all these nations. I mean, how many people are astonished at our condition? You got a lot of people out there wondering, just can't wonder why we can't get it together. They wondering that, and then we're a proverb, we bywords. How many? I don't want to say any of them, but we got the Negroes and the Negroes and all this type of stuff. We got all this different stuff. That they called us by everything but what we truly are. They refuse to recognize us as people. Because those are those curses that the Lord put on us. All right, verse 37. Thou shalt carry much seed out into the field, and shalt gather little in, for the locust shall consume it. Thou shalt plant vineyards and dress them, but shalt neither drink of the wine nor gather the grapes, for the worm shall eat them. All right, skip down to verse 41. Thou shalt begat sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. That's 2 times. That's 2 times that the Lord said, your son, you won't be able to enjoy your sons and your daughters. He said in verse 32, you want to go be able to stop it. Ain't no might go be in your hand. No, all right, verse 43. The stranger that is within thee shall get above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. It don't matter where you look in the world. You go everywhere in the world. We are at the lowest position everywhere you go in the world. Everywhere you go, we at the lowest position in the world. Everybody is higher than us. And going back to that reparations thing, what reparations have we ever received? Because we ain't gonna get no reparations. Our reparations is getting back to this law and listening to the Lord our God. That's what our reparations is gonna be. We get our reparations when the Lord gonna deliver us and take us back to the land, which I'm gonna show that later on in the lesson. But he shall lend to thee, verse 44. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. So until you go back to the land, you're not gonna be able to escape these curses. It don't matter you move out the hood, people move away from you. Because those people, that's those curses we under. It's a reason why there's just so much hate for us. It don't matter where you go. Like, yeah, people don't like darker skinned people, but there is so much hate for us everywhere we go. Like, you notice that. I mean, it don't matter where you go. You go to Asia, you go to Europe. You go to Canada. You go to some of the Spanish speaking countries. They don't, they don't like us. It's just all, that simple. All right, verse 47. Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. Thou shalt serve thy enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. So, I mean, I don't know how, we came over here in those slave ships. Sorry about that. We came over here in those slave ships. We was tagged. It don't matter whether you was male or female. You got the feathers put on your ankle, and you was chained and shackled together. That's that yoke upon that neck. And a lot of them, they didn't worry about putting the clothes on you, and they shackled you up like cargo. They had you stacked up in rows of one on top of another. A lot of them didn't make that. A lot of them didn't even make the trip over here and the other places where they went. They totally. And and they weren't even there. It's the Lord that did this to our forefathers, because we did not listen. So let's skip down to verse 61. All right. And also every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, then will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. All right. Verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and thou shalt serve other gods which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. Among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind. I mean, you're always scared. Look, when the police pull us over, who more scared than us when the police pull us over? Who's always more afraid than us of anything? Who's always the most likely to be killed? Which I'm gonna show some of those stats, later on. But who's always the most likely? We are. It don't matter what situation we find ourselves in. We always the most likely. And our eyes are feeling because of that. I mean, just not even a whole 100 years ago, We just had a whole civil rights movement. Why do we have to have a civil rights movement? You know, we have to have a civil rights movement because these conditions that we find ourselves in. You know, and that's not saying anything about the civil rights movement, but it's just our, you know, that's our ass feeling, and that's that sorrow of our mind, because we can't seem to understand, like, why are we in this condition? Why is this going on? Like, why do these people hate us so much? Like, why can't we just be accepted? You know, and it's just we just can't just couldn't get that right. All right, verse 66. And then thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even, and in even thou shalt say, would God it were morning. For the fear of thine heart, what would thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Now I want to stop right there, because it say bring thee in again in Egypt with ships. Egypt to Israel has always been a sign of the bondage. And also, he told you in 64 that he was going to scatter thee among all people. Egypt is not all people. So he said he's going to scatter you among all the people. So Egypt has always been a sign of bondage to the people of Israel. All right, so continuing that on, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I speak unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, and there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. All right, so as we can see there, you know, a lot of this stuff, you know, we can see that a lot of this, we fell under the curses and we did not fall under the blessings. All right, so let's continue on. Looks like some of my, can y'all see that whole screen there, or is it cut off a little bit? No, let me know in the comments if y'all can see that screen or not, because it looks cut off on my end. I want to make sure y'all can see all the information. And while we doing that,
we could see up to where it says not to be a Gentile.
Okay, so it says okay, so that bottom part says no, basically to be. So basically here I'm defining who's who. And so basically at that bottom part it says to be a Gentile you must be the seed of Japhet. But yeah, I'm about to show that to y'all in the Bible right now. So let's go to Genesis 10. And we're gonna read. A lot of people don't pay attention to these generations, to these genealogies, but you know, we gotta pay attention to this stuff. Now it's only important. I'm gonna teach y'all in the next lesson why it's important that we do pay attention to this stuff. But you know, yeah, you know, everything in this Bible was written. You know, if the Lord had it written, we should definitely be paying attention to it and opening our ears and eyes. All right, so Genesis, we're going to Genesis 10, and we're gonna start at verse 1. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japhet, and unto them were sons born after the flood. Now, the sons of Japhet are Gomer, Magog, and Madai, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshach, and Tiras. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, and Riptah. Pay attention to that Ashkenaz name, because that's going to come up again, you know, later on in this presentation. And Riptah, and Togarmah. And the sons of Javan, Elishah, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. And by these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue and after their families and in their nations. So starting verse 6, we got the children of Ham, which are the Africans. Okay, so we have the sons of Ham, we have Cush, Mizraim, and Put, and Canaan. And the sons of Cush, we got Seba, Havilah, Saptah, Reelmah, and Sapteca. And the sons of Reelmah, Sheba, and Dedan. And you know, Nimrod also came out of Cush. All righty, then if we skip on down to verse 21, you know, and it says unto Shem, the father of all the children of Eber, the brother of, and the children of Shem, we got Elam, Asher, Arphaxad, Lud, Aram, and the children of Aram, we got Uz, we have Geter, Mash, and let's skip. We're gonna go ahead and skip down to verse 31 for the sake of time. Y'all can go back and read the rest of the children on y'all own, but we're gonna go back and we're gonna skip to verse 31 for the sake of time. And it said, these are the sons of Shem after their families, after their tongues, in their lands, and after their nations. So I just wanted to divide these people up just to show you who's who when we get to really getting into the presentation. And so here we have here, this is a little excerpt from the Zondervan Bible Dictionary, which tells us that the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of the 8 persons to live through the flood, he became the progenitor of the dark races and not the Negroes. So that covers us. So if he became the progenitor of the dark races and not the Negroes, then who are we? But it says, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. And so the Egyptians, that's Mizraim. The Ethiopians are Cush. The Libyans are, give me 1 second. Sorry about that. The Libyans are Put, and of course we have the Canaanites. You can go and read all through. You can go and read all basically through Genesis about the Canaanites. All right, so let us move on. And so here at the bottom, to clarify what's at the bottom, so it says, just does Gentile mean non-Jew? No, it does not mean non-Jew. To be a Gentile, you must be of the seed of Japhet. And so, yeah, Gentile does not mean non-Jew. So we just defined what a Gentile is, what a Hamite is, and what a Shemite is, which are Africans, Gentiles, and Israelites, which there are other people that come out of Shem. You know, you got the Arabs that come out of Shem. You got Moabites. You got the Ammonites. I mean, you got a lot of different people that come out of Shem. So I just want to clarify that as well. All right. So moving on. Ooh, it jumped on me. Okay. Let's get this thing to work right. All right. All right. So moving on to the DNA part of it. It says, according to Sarah A. Tishkoff, Jabril Herbro, and Felicia Gomez, doctors from the National Institute of Health, Africans have the biggest genetic diversity in the world. Not all African people come from the same tribe, nor do all Africans have the same DNA. So I just want to point that out, because a lot of times when they test a lot of Africans, they just put that sub-Saharan thing on there. I'm going to show y'all why that can't be true. You know, because every single one of us, you mean tell me we all came from the same, everybody came from sub-Saharan? You know, that's a big, diverse, like Africa is huge. So to say we came from sub-Saharan, that would be anything under that Saharan desert. And I'm going to show y'all that where they brought the slaves from, it was over the Sahara Desert. It wasn't under the Sahara Desert. So it can't be sub-Saharan. So I just want to clarify that real quick. All right. African Americans and other black people scattered around the world during the slave trade have a different genetic code than other Africans in Africa. So black people of the diaspora, unlike other Africans, trace their DNA ancestry back to the land of Israel. And many tribes of Africa still contain this specific DNA. And so we see here that we have examples of a few examples. We got the Lema tribe in Zimbabwe. We got the Falashans, which are in Ethiopians. We got the Igbo, which are in Nigeria, and we got the Yoruba, which are in Nigeria as well. All righty. So going into, all right, so just to read something else. It's cut off. All right, so how did ancient Israel look, and is there biblical evidence? Which I'm about to start showing you the biblical evidence. But the Bible, as well as ancient historians such as Josephus, a Roman historian and scholar, and Rudolph Winsdor, author of From Babylon to Timbuktu, described the ancient Israelites as black or dark colored people. In Amos 9:7, God compared Israel to the Ethiopians. Now, we just went over what the Ethiopians are. The Ethiopians are the children of Cush. And show y'all. Here we got some pictures of that. We got many different Ethiopians, many different skin colors. So that look like that could be one of our brothers. You know, and the Lord said this is what he beheld us as, because he knew that Egypt would go get conquered by the Arabs. And that's why you see Egypt the way it is now. And that's why it's a 13th Arab state, you know, instead of the 12th one, because, you know, Egypt conquered it. First Rome had it, and once, you know, not Egypt, the Arabs. So once the Arabs, you know, beat out Rome, they took over Egypt as well. So I just wanted to throw that out there. All righty. So, and Ethiopians are the children of Cush, which in turn will make them the children of Ham. Hamites are black also. Egypt in Greek means black. You can look that up on Google. It absolutely, Google or a Greek dictionary or Greek, I think it's in the Greek Bible as well in the back of it. I don't know if they got them in the newer Bibles. They got them in the older ones, but yeah, you look up the word Egypt, it means black. You know, Psalms 105 states that Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham, you know, and they were talking about Egypt. So that just proves that, you know, Egyptians are Hamites. All right, so Joseph, Moses, and Paul were all mistaken for Egyptians, and this is what the late president of Egypt, can't even see the Gamal Abdel Nasser, had to say in 1959. He says that the Jews will never be able to live there in peace because they left here black and came back white. Now, this is an Egyptian president saying this, you know, by the way, is an Arab, by the way, as well. But this is the Egyptian president saying this. And this is all the way back in 1959. All righty. So we're going to go back. Before we move on, we're going to go back to the book, because we're going to go back. We're going to go to those when they were mistaken for Egyptians. And this first one might shock you even more, because you know, these was Joseph's brothers, you know, and I don't know about nobody else, but even if I hadn't seen my brother in a while, I'm gonna know who my brother is. But they did not know who their brother was. And so we're gonna go to we're gonna go to Genesis 42, and we're gonna, excuse me 1 second. We're gonna start at verse 1. All righty. Now when Jacob saw that there was corn in Egypt, Jacob said unto his sons, why do ye look upon one upon another? And he said, behold, I have heard that there is corn in Egypt. Get you down thither and buy for us from thence, that we may live and not die. And Joseph's 10 brethren went down to buy corn in Egypt. All right, so we're gonna skip down to get straight to the point. We're gonna skip down to verse 6. So, and Joseph was governor over all the land of Egypt, and it was sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brethren came and bowed down themselves before him with their faces to the earth. And Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but made himself strange unto them, and spake roughly unto them. And he said unto them, Whence come ye? And they said, From the land of Canaan, to buy food. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew not him. All right, so right away, it's obvious that those people look exactly the same. It's obvious that the Egyptians looked exactly the same as the Israelites. They both look the same because they would have recognized Joseph right away. So if they look like the people that were over there now, they didn't look like ancient Egyptians. And I'm gonna show y'all a picture of that in a minute in the next slide. But they don't look like the ancient Egyptians. And so right away they did not even know that was their brother Joseph. All right, so we're gonna skip down to verse 17. Okay, so before I go there, he was giving them grief. He was giving them grief, and he basically was telling them they were spies. And he basically told them, okay, prove it, prove that you're not spies. Even though he knew they weren't spies, he just gave them a little trouble for what they did to him. They sold him into slavery. But going to verse 17, and he put them all together into war 3 days. And Joseph said unto them the third day, Do this and live, for I fear God. If ye be true men, let one of your brethren be bound in the house of your prison. Go ye, carry corn for the family of your houses. But bring your youngest brother unto me, and so shall your words be verified, and you shall not die. And they did so. Now, when he talked about their youngest brother, they was talking about Benjamin. But when Jacob sent his sons, he didn't send Benjamin with them because of what happened to Joseph. So he didn't send Benjamin. He kept Benjamin back. And they told him about Benjamin because they told him about, they 12 brethren, and they came from one man, and they came from the land of Canaan. All right, and they wish they were talking about. All right, so and they said one to another, We are verily guilty concerning our brother, in that we saw the anguish of his soul when he besought us, and we would not hear. Therefore is this distress come upon us. And Reuben answered them, saying, Spake I not unto you, saying, Do not sin against the child? And ye would not hear. Therefore, behold, also his blood is required. And they knew not that Joseph understood them, for he spake unto them by an interpreter. So they didn't even know that he spoke Hebrew. They didn't even know. They totally did not know that this was a brother. Now, like I said, if the people looked different, they would have known who their brother was. It's been years, I've been separated from my brother for years, and I ain't never not known who my brother is. They did not know who he was. They just thought he was just another Egyptian ruler that was giving them grief over being spies. So I just want to show y'all that. All right, we're gonna go to Genesis 50. Because this is when Jacob died, which his name was changed to Israel, but this is when Jacob died. And this when Jacob made them swear that he was gonna bury them back in the land of their forefathers, bury him back with his forefathers. He didn't want to be buried in the land of Egypt. So he made Joseph swear by him. And so Joseph had to do it. And so going into Genesis 50, it said, And Joseph fell upon his father's face and wept upon him and kissed him. All right, we're gonna skip down to verse 4. And it said, And when the days of his mourning were past, Joseph spake unto the house of Pharaoh, saying, If now I have found grace in your eyes, speak, I pray you, in the ears of Pharaoh, saying, My father made me swear, saying, Lo, I die in my grave, which I did for me in the land of Canaan. There shalt thou bury me. Now, therefore, let me go up, I pray thee, and bury my father, and I will come again. So he's saying, let me go and bury my dad, and let me fulfill the promise I made unto him, and I'll come back here again. And Pharaoh said, Go up and bury thy father, according as he made thee swear. And Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, and the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Egypt, and all the house of Joseph, and his brethren, and his father's house, and only the little ones and their flocks and their herds that left in the land of Goshen. And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was with him a great company. And they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond Jordan, and there they mourned with a great and very sore lamentation. And he made a mourning for his father 7 days. And when the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning in the floor of Atad, they said, "This is a grievous mourning to the Egyptians." Wherefore the name of it was called Abel Mizraim, which is beyond Jordan. Now they said it was a grievous mourning to the Egyptians. They didn't differentiate between the people. So that's twice we've read just in the span of 8 chapters that nobody could tell the difference between the two people. They mistake every last single one of them there, for Egyptians. And then we're gonna go into Acts 21. Because Paul even got mistaken as an Egyptian. This is years after this. This in the New Testament. So if the people just look totally different, this wouldn't be able to happen. So I just want to show y'all that these people did look the same. All right, so we go into Acts 21, and we're going to verse 38. And it says, "Art thou okay?" So Paul got arrested. Paul got arrested because he was teaching the law, and they basically they was always coming at him, and so he wanted to plead his case. He wanted to go plead his case before the emperor. He could have got off just by pleading it to the person that was in charge of the land, but he wanted to go plead his case to the emperor, and so that's how he ended up in this position. And okay, so starting at verse 37 before we go to 38, it said, "And as Paul was to be led into the castle, he said unto the chief captain, May I speak unto thee? Who said, Canst thou speak Greek? He was shocked. And he said, Art thou not that Egyptian which before these days made us an uproar and led us out into the wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers? But Paul said, I am a man which am a Jew of Tarsus, a city in Cilicia, a citizen of no mean city, and I beseech thee, suffer me to speak unto the people." So they mistake Paul for Egyptian. So it's obvious, and it says that the mouth of 2 or more witnesses let a fact be established. That the books say that. So it's obvious that these people look the same. Now to go into the next slide, this is a picture of King Tut and his grandmother Ty. These are paintings and pictures that they found on the wall. I want y'all to pay attention to this color. Pay attention to the hair. I want y'all to pay attention to these facial features. These are not, no offense, these are not Gentile features. These are not Gentile. These are features that only we and the children of Ham have. We are very similar, but we're not the same people. So yep, here we are. So there that is. All right. So let's move on. Let's go into we're gonna go into Exodus 2, because now we're gonna start dealing with Moses, because now we gotta bring you out of Egypt, and we got to put you in the land. And so we're gonna go to Exodus 2. And we're gonna start at verse 1. And it says, "And there went a man of the house of Levi, and took to wife a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of the bulrushes, and daubed it with slime and with pitch. And he put the child therein, and she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. And his sister stood afar off to wit what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked alongside the river's side. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept, and she had compassion on him, and said, "This is one of the Hebrews' children." So she basically picked him up out of there. She picked him up out of there, and she was ready to, she was having compassion on him because she didn't want none to happen to him. Because before that, the Pharaoh had gave a decree to basically, every male child to kill every male child and the females to leave them, to leave them alone. And so that's why, when the midwives wouldn't do it, the Pharaoh charged his people to do it because the midwives wouldn't do it. They feared the Lord. They didn't want to kill no babies. They didn't want to do that. And so yeah, they told their people. They say, yeah, you find any male, throw them in the river. All right, so we're gonna go to. All right, and then right here we're gonna go to verse 7. It said, "Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, Shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse a child for thee? And Pharaoh said unto her, Go." Okay, so she went and got Moses' mama. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, Take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. And the woman took the child and nursed. So Moses' mama took him, and Pharaoh's daughter gave her the money to raise a child. So basically, Moses got a break. But we know why Moses got a break, because he had a great promise on him. All right. And it says, and the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son, and she called his name Moses, and she said, Because I drew him out of the water. Now, right away, he went. Now, this right here, verse 10, Moses went into Pharaoh's house. Moses went into Pharaoh's house, and Pharaoh didn't know it was no difference. If he would have known that it was a Hebrew child, he would have said, "Why are you bringing this Hebrew child to my house? Throw him in. I was decreed. You throw him in the river. It don't matter because that was his daughter. He made a decree. And kings had to stand by their decrees. Whether you was Pharaoh king or whatever you were, you stood by your decree. All right, and so it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren and looked on their burdens, and he spied an Egyptian smiting a Hebrew, one of his brethren. And he looked this way and that way, and when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. And he went out the second day, behold, two men of the Hebrews strode together, and he said to him that did the wrong, Wherefore smitest thou thy fellow? And he said, Who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Intendest thou to kill me as thou killest the Egyptian? And Moses feared and said, Surely this thing is known. So he had to flee, because he knew one thing: Israel cannot hold water. I'm telling you, tell a secret to one of us, we gonna get the spilling it, and I'm telling you, we gonna tell everybody. Israel cannot hold water, like absolutely at all. So now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses, because at that moment he knew Moses wasn't no Egyptian then, but at first he ain't know that Moses wasn't the Egyptian. He didn't know that. So at that point he sought to slay Moses, because he killed that Egyptian, but Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. Now we're gonna skip down because basically he sat there, and Jethro's daughters came, and they was watering their flocks, and the shepherds, the male shepherds, they didn't care nothing about being modest, or they didn't care nothing about looking out for the sisters. So they would wait till the sisters would draw their water, and they bull rush them and take their water. So the sisters had to wait basically till they got done, and then basically draw more water. You know, and Moses came that day. Moses wasn't having it. And so Moses basically, he whooped them up. He whooped them up. Now, hold on, but before I skip to verse 25, it says here in 18, it says, and when they came to Ruel, their father, sorry, it was Ruel, not Jethro. I'm sorry about that. Ruel, their father, he said, how is it that ye are come so soon today? And they said, an Egyptian, not a Hebrew, an Egyptian, delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds and also drew water enough for us and watered the flock. So I just wanted to point that out real quick before I skip down. All right, and it came to pass. I'm sorry, skip down to verse 23 here. And it came to pass in the process of time that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage, and they cried, and their cry came up unto God by reason of the bondage. And God heard their groaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham and with Isaac and with Jacob. And God looked upon the children of Israel, and God had respect unto them. All right, so now we're gonna go right into Exodus 3, and we're gonna start dealing with deal with this with Moses and this burning bush, because the Lord had to prepare Moses to go back. He didn't want to go. He was content dwelling where he was. You know what I said? Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the backside of the desert, and he came to the mountain of God, even to Horeb. And the angel of God appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of the bush, and he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. And Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush is not burnt. And when the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called unto him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, here am I. All righty. So we're gonna go into Exodus 4 now, because now we got Moses at the burning bush. He's talked to the burning bush. So now we're gonna go to Exodus 4 now. And Moses answered, sorry about that. And Moses answered and said, but behold, they will not believe me nor hearken unto my voice, for they will say, the Lord have not appeared unto thee. And the Lord said unto him, what is that in thy hand? And he said, a rod. And he said, cast it on the ground. And he cast it on the ground, and it became a serpent. And Moses fled from before it. And the Lord said unto Moses, put forth thine hand and take it by the tail. And he put forth his hand and caught it, and it became a rod in his hand. It became a rod in his hand. All right, so he basically he cast his staff down, and it became, and it became a snake. And then he ran from the Lord, told him to come back. He picked it up, and it became his staff again. All right, and then 5, he said that they may believe that the Lord God their father, that the Lord God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob have appeared unto thee. And the Lord said furthermore unto him, put now thy hand into thy bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom. So bosom is basically just like it was basically like a pocket that they had. That's basically what it is. And he put his hand to his bosom, and when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. Now, I don't need to tell y'all what color snow is. What color snow is. Some of us see it every week. We getting ready to see it, probably maybe in November. But we all know what color snow is. Okay, and he said, verse 7, and he said, put thy hand into thy bosom again. And he put his hand into his bosom again and plucked it out of his bosom. And behold, it was turned again as his other flesh. So, I mean, it was obviously a different color than what it was. And seeing as that he looked like an Egyptian, we got these pictures here. All right. We're going to go somewhere else. We're going to go somewhere else, too, to prove this leprosy thing. We're going to go to Numbers 12. Because Miriam and which we gonna get back to the Passover. We gonna get the people of Israel out of Egypt. We gonna get back to that. But I want to go here first, just so this is when they were out of Egypt already, and they were already a nation. But I want to go here to prove something. So Moses had married an Ethiopian woman, and they had a problem with him, because of it. But it really wasn't. They used the woman as a catalyst. They used it. They used it. They used it as a catalyst, and you know, they basically wanted the same spiritual authority that Moses had. All right, so here we're gonna start at verse 1. It says, and Miriam, this is Numbers 12 and verse 1, by the way. All right, so and Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman. And they said, have the Lord indeed spoken only by Moses? Have he not spoken also by us? And the Lord heard it. Okay, we're gonna skip down to verse 4. And it said, and the Lord spake suddenly unto Moses and unto Aaron and unto Miriam, come out, ye three, unto the tabernacle of thy congregation. And they three came out. And the Lord came down in the pillar of the cloud and stood in the door of the tabernacle and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forth. And he said, hear my word, hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I the Lord will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream. My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all mine house. With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in dark speeches. And the similitude of the Lord shall he behold. Wherefore then were ye not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? So basically, he was asking him, you basically you know who Moses is, you know his power, and I always speak to Moses face to face. So he wanted to know why was they not afraid to speak against his servant? Because one thing we got to understand. Sometimes when you're speaking against a servant of God, you're not attacking that servant. You're attacking the Lord, because they represent the Lord. And that's why when the Lord was getting ready to change Paul over, that's why he asked them, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? Saul ain't never did none to Jesus. He Paul now, but when he was Saul, he ain't did a thing to Jesus. But he persecuted the church. We all know that. So sometimes we got to be careful. This is learning something on our way to learning some better way. So we got to be careful sometimes how we treat other people, especially servants of God. All right. So getting back to it, it said, verse 9, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. So that once again, we see that somebody else got hit with that leprosy. They became a different color, and it said white as snow. So basically, they became white. And she was only that way for 7 days. The Lord eventually restored her. But I just want to show y'all that. And we see some now we got different forms of leprosy, but when we talking about skin leprosy, any other skin lepers that we see, that has the skin condition. I'm not talking about the other forms of leprosy, which are like the other things that's mentioned in the Bible. All right, so when you see anybody with leprosy, you see they skin start to look like they turn it into a totally different person. They starting to turn white. Almost a little bit. You see patches of black and you see patches of white. That's what a skin leper is. All right, so we're gonna go back to Exodus, the 12th chapter, and we're gonna read about this Passover. All right, so we're gonna start at verse 1, and then we're gonna do some skipping here. Because I said I'm not trying to keep y'all here all day, And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of the months, and this shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month, they shall take to them every man a lamb according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. Alrighty, we're gonna skip down to verse 6. And you shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the two side posts and on the upper door posts of the house wherein they shall eat it. All right, we're gonna skip down to verse 10. And you shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remaineth of it until the morning you shall burn with fire. And thus shall you eat it with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. All right, so we're gonna skip. No, sorry. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where ye are. And when I see the blood, hold on. Now I want to point something out here, because we got a lot of people out there who only think Israel gonna be saved. Now, right here, he said, when I see the blood. He didn't say when I see the blood over the Israelite doorposts. He said when I see the blood. So that means the Egyptians could have did the same, because he told this. He didn't just speak this to the children of Israel. He spoke it loud enough for everybody to hear. So that means the Egyptians could have did the same thing. They could have participated in the Passover. He said, when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. All righty, so we're going to skip down to verse 23. For the Lord will pass through to smite the Egyptians, and when he seeth the blood upon the lintel, upon the two side posts, the Lord will pass over the door and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your house to smite you. Now, once again, he said it again. When I see the blood. Now he said he's gonna smite the Egyptians, but he didn't say that he was just gonna smite, that the Egyptians couldn't participate in the Passover. He even you can go and read verse 43 and go down, and it'll tell you, the ordinance of the Passovers, and it'll even tell you that foreigners could eat of the Passover. So this thing has never been just for Israel. So I just want to point that out real quick while we're there. Alrighty, so we're gonna skip to verse 31. And he said, and he called for Moses and Aaron by night and said, rise up and get you forth from among my people, both ye and the children of Israel. Go and serve the Lord as ye have said. And so, the Lord came through. He did what he said he was going to do. He did what he said he was going to do. And Pharaoh said, y'all got to go. Get on out this land. Go serve the Lord, just like you said you was going to do. He said, also take your flocks and your herds, as you have said, and be gone, and bless me also. And the Egyptians were urging upon the people that they might send them out of the land in haste, for they said, we be all dead men. So this is, now we got Israel out of the land of Egypt, and they getting ready to, they enter their land of Canaan. All right, so I'm just gonna pull up this next slide here. All right, so now we're gonna start to deal with some of these biblical signs and proof. Now we're not gonna deal with the ones on the screen quite yet. We're gonna start dealing with them, but we're not gonna quite deal with those yet. All right, so we're gonna go to First Kings, because we're gonna start reading about, they were in the land, but they weren't listening. And so the Lord gonna start, passing down some judgment because they didn't want to listen to what the Lord had told them to do. So we'll go to 1 Kings 11, and we're gonna start at verse 1. All right. Sit 1 second, please. All righty. All right, and it reads, but King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites. Now, the Lord had already gave Israel a law about dealing with the women of those lands, because he said, y'all they go turn y'all heart away from it. And sure enough, this is Solomon, the wisest one of us, got his heart turned away because he dealt with all those wives. He had 700 wives and 300 concubines. We go ahead on. All right, we just gonna read. And other nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, you should not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you, for they will surely turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love, and he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. For it came to pass when Solomon was old that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father. And so we see that he wasn't listening, he wasn't following, he was serving these other gods, and the Lord said he didn't want them serving them the gods of them lands. All right, so it says, for Solomon went after Ashereth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. And Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord, and went not fully after the Lord, as did David his father. All right, so we're gonna skip down to verse 9. And the Lord was angry with Solomon, because his heart was turned from the Lord God of Israel, which had appeared unto him twice, and had commanded him concerning this thing, that he should not go after other gods, but he kept not that which the Lord commanded. For wherefore the Lord said unto Solomon, for as much as this is done of thee, and thou hast not kept my covenant and my statutes, which I have commanded thee, I will surely rend the kingdom from thee, and will give it to thy servant. Notwithstanding, in thy days I will not do it for David thy father's sake, but I will rend it out of the hand of thy son. Howbeit, I will not rend away all the kingdom, but will give one tribe to thy son for David my servant's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake I have chosen. All right, so right away, we about to start separating these kingdoms, because Israel came out of Egypt as one kingdom. They was established as one kingdom, but they didn't follow it. All right, so because Solomon started serving these other gods, right here we see that the Lord said that he's gonna take the kingdom away, but he said he won't go do it to him for David's sake, but he was gonna take it from his son. Now let's skip down to verse 26, because now we go bring in Jeroboam. This who the kingdom did go to. The kingdom was rent out of Rehoboam's hand, but we about to get to that soon. And it said, and Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, an Ephrathite of Zeredah, Solomon's servant, whose mother name was Zeruiah, a widow woman, he lifted up his hand against the king, because the Lord started bringing drama on Solomon. He stirred up a lot of enemies towards him. And this was the cause that he lifted up his hand against the king. Solomon built Milo and repaired the breaches of the city of David his father. And the man Jeroboam was a mighty man of valor, and Solomon, seeing the young man that he was industrious, he made him ruler over all the charge of the house of Joseph. And it came to pass at that time, when Jeroboam went out of Jerusalem, to the prophet Ahijah, the Shilonite, found him in a way, and he clad himself with the new garment, and they two were alone in the field. And Ahijah caught the new garment that was on him, and rent it in 12 pieces. And he said to Jeroboam, take thee 10 pieces For thus saith the Lord God of Israel, behold, I will rend the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon, and will give 10 tribes to thee. All right, so right here we see right here this rending is starting to take place. You know, this is spiritual part of it. This is spiritual part of it. And so he right here, he told in here the prophet, he told in 12 pieces to represent those 12. Each of those pieces represented a tribe of Israel. And so he told Jeroboam to pick up 10 pieces, of it. Because the Lord, he said he was gonna give one tribe. He said he was gonna give one tribe to David. But somebody asked, that's only 11 tribes, right? No, it's not 11 tribes, because we forget about the tribe of Benjamin has always been with Judah. They ain't never been with nobody. They always been, under Judah. So that one tribe. So Judah is a tribe in itself, and then we got Benjamin. So you had Judah and Benjamin, and then you had the other 10 tribes that was given to Jeroboam. That was given to Jeroboam here. All right. So, but he shall have one tribe. This is verse 32. But he shall have one tribe for my servant David's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, the city which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, because they have. 1 second. All right, let's skip down to verse 34. Howbeit, I will not take the whole kingdom out of his hand, but I will make him a prince all the days of his life for David my servant's sake, whom I chose, because he kept my commandments and statutes. But I will take the kingdom out of his son's hand, and will give it unto thee, even 10 tribes. Now here we go. He said it again. He's gonna take it. He's gonna take it out of Solomon's son's hand. That's Rehoboam. But we about to get to that. And until his son, I will give one tribe, that David my servant may have a light always before me in Jerusalem, the city which I have chosen me to put my name there. All right. So now we're going to go into 1 Kings 12, because now we're going to start. We're gonna get to this renting of the kingdom out of Solomon's son's hand. And Rehoboam went to Shechem. Sorry, this is 1 Kings 12. We starting at verse 1. And Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Israel will come to Shechem, and to make him king. And it came to pass, when Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who was yet in Egypt, heard of it, for he was fled from the presence of King Solomon, and Jeroboam dwelt in Egypt. They sent and called him, and Jeroboam and all the congregation of Israel came and spake unto Israel, saying, Thy father made our yoke grievous. Now therefore make thou the grievous service of thy father, and his heavy yoke which he put upon us lighter, and we will serve thee. Because Solomon wasn't playing with him. He made them people work. He scourged them, and he did all type of stuff to them. Solomon wasn't playing, so they wanted it a little easier. And so here, this young man had two different councils. Now he went to old men, he went to the old men, and he went to his own friends. We're gonna see who he listened to later on. But it said, in verse 5, he said unto them, Depart ye for 3 days, then come again to me. And the people departed. And King Rehoboam consulted with the old men that stood before Solomon his father while he yet lived, and said, How do ye advise that I may answer this people? All right, so we're gonna skip down to verse 12, because the old man basically told him, you might want to listen to the people, hearken to the people, and they'll serve you forever. He told them, but we're gonna see who he listened to. Let's get down to verse 12. And so the young man told him, basically make it hard on him, make it harder than Solomon made it on him. So we're gonna see who he listened to right here in verse 12 on down. And he said, So Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam the 3rd day, as the king had appointed, saying, Come to me again the 3rd day. And the king answered the people roughly, and forsook the old man's counsel that they gave him, and spake to them after the counsel of the young man, saying, My father made your yoke heavy, I will add to your yoke. My father also chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. Wherefore the king hearkened not unto the people, for the cause was from the Lord, that he might perform his saying which the Lord spake by Ahia the Shilonite unto Jeroboam the son of Nebat. So here we go. He about to rent them kingdoms. All right. So when all Israel saw that the king hearkened not unto them, the people answered the king, saying, what portion have we in David? Neither have we inheritance in the son of Jesse. To your tents, O Israel. Now see to thine own house, David. So Israel departed unto their tents. But as for the children of Israel, which dwelt in the cities of Judah, Rehoboam reigned over them. So once again, we see right there, those other tribes, they didn't want to follow the king. They didn't want to follow the house of Judah no more. So right here, that prophecy is getting fulfilled. All right, now we are going to go. Now we are going to go into 2 Kings, because now we're going to go to when the Assyrians took down Israel for all their iniquities. And the Lord prophesied that too. You can go and read in all throughout Kings. The Lord prophesied that he was going to take them down because they didn't listen. They didn't want to follow the laws. And remember, and they enter a covenant with the Lord. When you enter a covenant with somebody, you got to follow that thing. You gave your word on that. So we're gonna go to 2 Kings 17. And we're gonna start at verse 1. Alrighty, so in the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, began Hoshea the son of Elah to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, but not as the king of Israel that were before him. Now, right away, we see that this is another king. Ahaz, he did not do what was right in the eyes of the Lord. He did what was evil. He ain't followed the law. He did everything else. He served other gods. He did not listen to what the Lord wanted him to do. All right. So and against him came up Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, and Hoshea became his servant and gave him presents. And the king of Assyria found conspiracy in Hoshea, for he had sent messengers to So, king of Egypt, and brought no respect to the king of Assyria, as he had done year by year. Therefore, the king of Syria shut him up and bound him in prison. Now, right here we see that we had right here that the king, Israel was paying tribute to the Assyrians, but they decided that they didn't want to pay tribute no more, and so they decided that they was go right to the king of Egypt to get some more troops so they could try to fight against Assyria. But the Lord always got a way of making his word known. All right, so it says, then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years. And in the ninth year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria and placed them in Hagar and Habor by the river of Gozan and in the cities of the Medes. So right there we see that Israel was taken out. All right, so let's skip down to verse 20. Skip down to verse 20 here. It said, and the Lord rejected all the seed of Israel and afflicted them and delivered them into the hand of the spoilers until he had cast them out of his sight. For he rent Israel from the house of David, and they made Jeroboam the son of Nebat king. And Jeroboam drave Israel from following the Lord and made them sin a great sin. That great sin that they're talking about, he didn't want the people to go back to Judah. So he fired the Levites. The Levites went back to Judah, and he made all the lowest of the low men priests, and he made golden calves. And he said, hey, You don't got to go to to Jerusalem to keep keep the Passover. You can just worship these gods. And the Lord, you know how the Lord feel about those idols. You can go and read about the golden calf in Exodus. And Jeroboam go turn around and make another one. He made two of them. So yeah, that's a great scene. All right. It said for the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jeroboam, which he did, they departed not from them, until the Lord removed Israel out of his sight, as he has said by all of his servants the prophets. So is Israel carried away out of their land, out of their own land, to Assyria unto this day. So yeah, so we see that Israel, Israel want no more. So everything that we see after this, we're going to start talking about them three tribes that's in Judah, which are the tribe of Judah, the tribe of Benjamin, and the tribe of Levi. So, all right. So just to prove that they were not in the land, let's go real quickly to John 4, and we're going to read a little bit of when Jesus talked to the woman at the well. And we're going to pay attention to something that she said to him, just to prove that it weren't the same people, because they weren't even dealing with these people. The nation of Israel, at least. All right, so right here we got, and it says in John 4, when therefore the Lord knew how the Pharisees had heard that Jesus made and baptized more disciples than John. All right, we're going to skip to verse 3. He left Judea and departed again into Galilee. All right, skip down to verse 5. Then cometh he into a city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near to the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Now Jacob's well was there. Jesus, therefore, being weary with his journey, sat thus on the well, and it was about the sixth hour. There cometh the woman of Samaria to draw water. Jesus said unto her, give me to drink. All right. For his disciples were gone away into the city to buy meat. Then said the woman of Samaria unto him, how is that thou, being a Jew, askest drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. So yeah, the Jews didn't even deal with the people that was in that land after that time, because they knew that they weren't true Jews. And just to show y'all that, we are, let's skip down to verse 12, because sorry about that. Before we move on, let's skip to verse 12. There's something else I want to make sure. I'm glad I didn't skip this. But art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well, and drank thereof himself, and his children, and his cattle? So these people thought that they were, they thought that they were Israelites. They thought that they was the children of Israel. But we're gonna go back to 2 Kings 17, and we're gonna start at verse 24. We're gonna see why they thought that they were Israelites, but we're gonna prove that they weren't Israelites. Now it says here in 24, and the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon, and from Cutha, and from Ava, and from Hamath, and from Servaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. And they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. And so it was at the beginning of their dwelling there that they feared not the Lord, because they didn't know no commandments. They didn't know nothing. They didn't know nothing about that. They didn't know none about the commandments, and because they weren't the children of the land. And so so they feared not the Lord, and that therefore the Lord sent lions among them, which slew some of them. Wherefore they spake to the king of Assyria, saying, the nations that which thou hast removed and placed in the cities of Samaria know not the manner of the God of the land. Therefore he hath sent lions among them, and behold, they slay them, because they know not the manner of the God of the land. Then the king of Assyria commanded, saying, carry to the one of the priests whom ye brought from thence, and let them go and dwell there, and let him teach them the manner of the God of the land. Then one of the priests whom they had carried away from Samaria came and dwelt in Bethel, and taught them how they should fear the Lord. So we see right here that those were not even, that woman that Jesus was talking to at the well was not even part of the children of Israel. She was from one of these nations that the Assyrians brought in. They repopulated them with just different people. And they didn't even know, they didn't know the man of the land. So this is why she thought that she was, this is why she thought that she was Israel. Because a priest had to come back and teach them the law. And I want y'all to pay attention to that, because that's going to be real important in my part 2 lesson. So I want y'all to pay attention to that. All right. So now we're going to go into, we're going to look at Judah, because we got Israel off the map now. So now we're going to look at this destruction of Judah, because Judah wasn't listening either. And so we're going to look at the first destruction of it, and then we're going to look at the 70 AD destruction. We're going to look at that a little later. But we're going to go to 2 Kings. We'll go to 2 Kings 25. And we're gonna start at verse 1. And it came to pass in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, that Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon came, and he and all his hosts against Jerusalem, and pitched against it, and they built forts around it round about. And the city was besieged until the 11th year of King Zedekiah. And on the 9th day of the 4th month the famine prevailed in the city, and there was no bread for the people of the land. And the city was broken up, and all the men of war fled by night by the way of the gate between the 2 walls, which is by the king's garden. Now these were the Chaldeans that did this to them. Now the Chaldeans were against the city round about, and the king went the way toward the plain. And the army of the Chaldeans pursued the king and overtook him in the plains of Jericho, and all his army were scattered from him. Now this is all Judah here. This is it. No tribes. This is only the tribe of Judah, the tribe of Levi, and the tribe of Benjamin. This is all happening in Judah. All right. And so they took the king and brought him up to the king of Babylon, Riblah, and they gave him judgment there. And they slew the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes, and put out the eyes of Zedekiah, and bound him with fetters of brass, and carried him to Babylon. All right. And in the fifth month, on the 7th day of the month, which is the 19th year of King Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came Nebuzar Adan. Sorry if I butcher some of these names, y'all. I've been really trying to work on them and pronounce them. Captain of the guard, a servant of the king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem. And he burnt the house of the Lord, and the king's house, and all the houses of Jerusalem, and every great man's house he burnt with fire. And all the army of the Chaldees that were with the captain of the guard break down the walls of Jerusalem around about. Now the rest of the people that were left in the city, and the fugitives that fell away to the king of Babylon with the remnant of the multitude, did Nebuzar Adan, the captain of the guard, carry away. Now, but he left some in there. He left basically the poorest people. He left them basically in the land. But he took pretty much everybody else. So it wasn't even nobody there. All right, so let's skip down to verse 18. Now, he came back. He go take them people that he left in the land. And the captain of the guard took Sariah, the chief priest, and Zephaniah, the second priest, and the 3 keepers of the door. And out of the city he took an officer that was set over the men of war, and 5 men of them that were in the king's presence, which were found in the city. And the principal scribe of the host, which mustered the people of the land, threescore men of the people of the land that were found in the city. And Nebuzar Adan, captain of the guard, took these and brought them to the king of Babylon to Riblah. And the king of Babylon smote them and slew them at Riblah in the land of Hamath. So Judah was carried away out of their land. All righty, so we see here that that Nebuchadnezzar took them out. He came and he sent this he sent this captain of the guard to get the rest of them out of the land. So, he just now that land is totally empty. All right. So now we speed up a little bit. Now we're gonna go to Ezra. We're gonna go to Ezra. The first chapter, because Israel didn't return until Cyrus gave the proclamation. So we're gonna go to Ezra, the first chapter, and we're gonna read this proclamation. Just to show you that it was, that I just want to show y'all the splitting of the kingdom, just to show y'all that it was only Judah that's gonna return, and not the nation, not Israel. Israel still, Israel was scattered well before Judah was. Israel was scattered among the children of Ham. That's who all those nations were that I read from the Assyrians. So we're gonna go to Ezra chapter 1, and we're gonna start at verse 1. Now, in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled, the Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom, and put it also in writing, saying, Thus says Cyrus, the king of Persia, the Lord God of heaven, have given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he have charged me to build him a house at Jerusalem, which is in Judah. So we see he's talking about Judah here. Who is there among you of all his people? His God be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judah, and build the house of the Lord God of Israel. He is the God which is in Jerusalem. And whosoever remaineth in any place where he sojourneth, let the men of his place help him with silver and with gold and with goods and with beasts, beside the freewill offering for the house of God that is in Jerusalem. Then rose up the chief of the fathers of Judah, Benjamin, and the priests and the Levites, and with all them whose spirit God had raised, to go build up the house of the Lord, which is in Jerusalem. And all they that were about them strengthened their hands with the vessels of silver, with gold, with goods, and with beasts, and with precious things, besides all that was offered. All righty, so just show y'all they Cyrus made this proclamation. Now we're gonna go into Ezra. We're gonna go into Ezra chapter 2, because we're gonna see exactly how many of these children of Israel returned. So we're gonna start at we're gonna read verse 1 and 2, and then we're gonna skip all the way down to verse 64, because I don't want to have y'all here all day, reading all those people. So now these are the children of the province that went up out of captivity, of those which had been carried away from Nebuchadnezzar. From Nebuchadnezzar's king of Babylon had carried away unto Babylon, and came again unto Jerusalem and Judah, everyone unto his city. All right, which came with Zerubbabel, Jeshua, Nehemiah, Sariah, Reliah, Mordecai, Bilshan, Mispar, Bigvai, Rehum, and Baanah. The number of the men of the people of Israel. All right, so if we skip down to 64, we see he gonna summarize that number. And so he said the whole congregation together was 42,303 score. For that's 42,000 Jews that Cyrus let back. If you can really put it in Google, search anywhere, and you can search that up, the number may say 48. Sometimes it say 50,000. Sometimes it say like 48, but it pretty much tells you right here that that's 40,000 Jews that went back into the land and settled in Israel. All right, so now let's start the deal. So now that we see who's in the land, we know about in 70 AD, which I'm gonna get to that. But now we're gonna get back to this presentation, and we'll look at some of these curses. Now, if we go to Isaiah 42. We're gonna look at some of this stuff, and we just gonna, like I said, we're gonna let the book tell us what it is, and we're gonna let history tell us what it is. All right, so we're gonna start at verse 18, and it says, "Hear ye deaf, and look ye blind, that ye may see. Who is blind but my servant, or deaf as my messenger that I sent? Who is blind as he that is perfect, and blind as the Lord's servant? Seeing many things, but thou observest not. Openeth the ears, but he heareth not. All righty, let's skip down to verse 22. But this is a people who robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. For they are for a prey, and none deliver for a spoil, and none saith restore. I mean, that's self-explanatory. Who among you will give ear to this? Who will hearken and hear for the time to come? Who gave Jacob for a spoil and Israel to the robbers? Did not the Lord, he against whom we have seen? For they will not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient unto his law. Therefore he have poured upon them the fury of his anger and the strength of battle, and it have set him on fire round about. Yet he knew not, and it burned him, yet he laid it not to heart. So yeah, we see right here, we got a lot of people who won't even like even now as I'm teaching this, we got a lot of people saying, I'm giving y'all, concrete information here. We got a lot of people saying like, hey, it's not true, it's not true, it's not true. So right away, we seeing right here, they don't want to lay at the heart. And this is why we gonna continue to find ourselves in this position until we start to lay this stuff to heart. We gotta start, waking up and realizing this. So we're gonna go and look at some numbers real quick before we go forward in the scripture, and we're gonna look at some of these. We'll look at some of these things. Now, according to the scripture, it said we was gonna be locked away in prison houses. Now, let's look at a few stats that confirms this scripture. Now, in the U.S., Black people are 5 times more likely to be incarcerated than any other race, according to the National Institute of Justice. And then in Zechariah 11:7, which I'm gonna show y'all some more prison numbers in other countries, by the way. But in Zechariah 11:7, it calls us the flock of the slaughter. So let's go there real quickly and read that. All right, we're gonna start at verse 1. Open thy doors, O Lebanon, that the fire may devour thy cedars. Howl, fir tree, for the cedar is fallen, because the mighty are spoiled. Howl, O ye oaks of Bashan, for the forest of the vantage is come down. There is a voice of howling of the shepherds, for their glory is spoiled, and the voice of the roaring young lions, for the pride of Jordan is spoiled. Thus saith the Lord my God, feed the flock of the slaughter, whose possessions slay them and hold themselves not guilty. And they that sell them say, blessed be the Lord, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not. So we see here, how many times, not only police, but how many times people kill us and they get, and yeah, we've been getting more and more people that's been getting incarcerated for killing us. But how many people kill us and they don't find themselves guilty? How many police officers just say, oh, I thought I was going for my taser? They know the difference between the taser and the gun, but they'll just say, oh, I thought I was going for my taser, or, oh, I thought he was reaching for a weapon. We could have our hands in the air and they'll still shoot us dead. They don't feel bad about that. No, because the Lord said we the flock of the slaughter. And our own, we got pastors out here who know some of this stuff and won't even teach us. They don't pity us. They want to keep seeing us in this position, because they want to keep lining their pockets, but they're not going to teach you this because it may turn you away from their church. Now they can't collect them tithes from you no more. How is it that our neighborhoods are some of the worst neighborhoods, but we have a church on almost every block? We have a church on almost every block, but the condition of the people haven't improved. Why is that? You would think with all these religious leaders, we would have been improved by now. But we didn't. All right, so moving on. We're gonna look at some of these other numbers, some of these other the prison numbers. Sorry about that. All right. So we're going to look at, this is in Canada. Now it says, black people are also overrepresented among the federal offender population. This is in 2020, 2021. I tried to get something more, recent, but they haven't released anything more recent. But it says in 2020 and 2021, 9% of the offenders under the federal jurisdiction in custody under community supervision were black, despite only representing about 4% of the adults in Canada. So how do we only make up 4% of the population in Canada, but we make up a whole 9% of the prison population? It shouldn't even be enough for us to even make up 9%. That means there's a lot of us locked up. A lot. And then if we go, we're gonna skip a little bit. Let's see. All right, so between 2016, 2017, and 2020 and 2021, the total federal offender population decreased by almost 7%. From 23,000 from 21,000 respect. Now it decreased, but but the number of black people from within this population increased by 2% from 1,836 to 1,876 respectfully. So there we go. How is that when we only make up 4% of the population? All right, so we're gonna move on. Let's get down to this one. Over the 10-year period, it says here that black offenders comprise the greatest proportion, 45% of the offenders admitted. For offenders admitted for an offense under Section 6 of the Controlled Drugs and Substance Act. So basically, we got harsher sentences for stuff that it should have just been a regular old offense. It should have been a slap on the wrist, but we got sentenced for it. And that's just going back to Isaiah 42. The Lord said we was going to be hidden away in them prison houses. And it says, despite making up 18% of the population of England and Wales, this is in the UK. This is a 2021 census, by the way. Black prisoners are significantly overrepresented in the prison system. We only make up 18% of the population, but there is 28% of us, that make up that prison population in the UK. Now, 28% of us, and we only make up 18% of the population. That's a big number. Like, that is a big number of us that went there. It's a lot of us locked up, All right. So now we're gonna go to we're gonna go back to the book real quick. Let's see. We're gonna go to Psalms. We're gonna go to Psalms 83, and we're gonna read some stuff there. All right, we're gonna start at verse 1. It says, keep not thy solace, O God, and hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up thy head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and have consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, let us cut them off for being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom, the Ishmaelites of Moab, and the Hagarenes of Gabal and Ammon and Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. Also, Asher also is joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot and Selah. All right, so we see there that those nations all came together and said, we gonna take down this nation of Israel. And we still see that today. I mean, if we look at what happened to Kyrie Irving, I don't agree with, the whole way how he brought that message, but look at what they did to him. The minute that he said, oh, we the children of Israel, we the church, look how fast they smacked him down. Look at all they made him do just to play basketball again. They confederate in keeping this information down because they don't want us to know this information. They want us to keep, being uneducated about the matter. All right. So we're gonna keep going. All right, we're gonna skip down to verse 12. And it said, who said, let us take to ourselves the house of God in possession. Oh my God, make them like a wheel and as a stubble before the wind. As the fire burneth the wood, and as the flame set of the mountains on fire, so persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm. All right, so we're gonna skip down to verse 16. Well, we just read on through. Fear their faces with shame, that they may seek thy name, O Lord. Let them be confounded and troubled forever. Yeah, let them be put to shame and perish. That men may know that thou, whose name alone is Jehovah, art thou most high over all the earth. All right, so we're gonna go. We're gonna go to Joel. We're gonna go to Joel 2. Because now we're gonna start the deal. Now we're gonna start to get into the return. And we're gonna get back to the presentation, but now we're gonna start getting into the return. All right, so we're gonna start at Joel 2, and we're gonna start at verse 1, and then we're gonna skip down. It says, blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord cometh, for it is nigh at hand. All right. So let's skip down to verse 12. Therefore also now saith the Lord, turn ye even to me with all your heart, and with fasting, and with weeping, and with mourning, and rend your heart and not your garments, and turn unto the Lord your God. So he telling you, he said, come on, repent, come back to me. I want to redeem you. For he is gracious and merciful, slow to anger, and of great kindness, and repent of him of the evil. All righty. So we're gonna skip down. We're gonna skip down to 16. Gather the people, sanctify the congregation, assemble the elders, gather the children and those that suck the breasts. Let the bridegroom go forth out of his chamber, and the bride out of her closet. Let the priests, the ministers, and of the Lord weep between the porch and the altar, and let them say, spare thy people, O Lord, and give not thy heritage to reproach, that the heathen should rule over them. Wherefore should they say among the people, where is their God? And then will the Lord be jealous for his land and pity his people? Yea, the Lord will answer and say unto his people, behold, I will send you corn, wine, and oil, and you shall be satisfied therewith. And I will make you no more. And I will no more make you a reproach among the heathen. But I will remove far off from you the northern army, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate, with his face towards the east sea, and his hinder part toward the utmost sea. And his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he have done great things. All right, so right there, he telling you that he want to redeem you. He don't want to have you, in this condition anymore. But you got to return unto him. All right, so we're gonna skip down to verse 23. Be glad then, ye children of Zion, and rejoice in the Lord your God, for he have given you the former rain moderately, and and he will cause to come down for you the rain, the former rain and the latter rain in the first month. And the floor shall be full of wheat, and the fat shall overflow with wine and oil. And I will restore to you the years that the locusts have eaten, the cankerworm and the caterpillar and the palmer worm, my great army which I sent among you. All righty. So we're gonna skip down to verse 27. And you shall know that I am And you shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Lord your God, and none else. And my people shall never be ashamed. Alrighty, so we're gonna go right over into Joel 3, and we're gonna finish dealing with a little bit more of this return. And so we're gonna start at verse 1. Behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given the boy for a harlot and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. So basically, when they want to have a good time, they sold one us for they sold one us for a lady of the night. And and when they wanted something to drink, they wanted some wine. They sold one of our girls. They didn't man. Use a means of exchange to them. And it says here, to the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto the Grecians, that you might remove them far from their border. Behold, I will raise them out of the place where you have sold them, and I will return your recompense upon your head. Alrighty, so we see right there. Like I said, a lot of these scriptures, the stuff is pretty, it's going to be pretty self-explanatory who is talking about. Because I can't think of no other people that's in this condition other than us as a whole people. Now, some of us may be doing well individually. Yeah, we got ball players, we got rappers and all that, but as a whole, we doing terrible as a people. And that ain't bad, no coincidence. That's bad design. All right, so we're gonna go to Isaiah 51, and we're gonna go to we're gonna go to start at verse 17. Awake, awake, stand up, O Jerusalem, which has drunk at the hand of the Lord this cup of his fury. Thou hast drunk at the dregs of the cup of trembling and wrung them out. There is none to guide her among all the sons who she have brought forth. Neither is there any that taketh her by the hand of all the sons that she have brought up. These two things will come unto thee. Who shall be sorry for thee? Desolation and destruction and famine and the sword. By whom shall I comfort thee? Thy sons have fainted. They lie at the head of all the streets, as a wild bull in the neck. Go out unto your neighborhood store, and who at the head of all them corners? It sure ain't the people that's over there today. They at the head of every corner. And it says here, they are full of the fury of the Lord, the rebuke of thy God. They full of the fear of the Lord because they don't understand. They mad because they're in this position. They don't understand, so they get mad. They killing one another. They killing one another. They taking each other out. But I'm telling you, you go to almost any corner. They right there. All right. Let's go back to Zechariah. Let's go back to Zechariah, the first chapter. And we're gonna start at verse 1. All right. So in the eighth month, in the second year of Darius, came the word of the Lord unto Zechariah, the son of Berechiah, the son of Edo, the prophet, saying, the sorry, the Lord have been sore displeased with your fathers. Therefore say thou unto them, thus saith the Lord of hosts, turn ye unto me, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will turn unto you, saith the Lord of hosts. Be not as your fathers, unto whom the former prophets have cried, saying, thus saith the Lord of hosts. Turn ye now from your evil ways and from your evil doings. But they did not hear, nor hearken unto me, saith the Lord. Your fathers, where are they? Good question. And the prophets, do they live forever? But my words and my statutes, which I commanded my servants, the prophets, did they not take hold of your fathers? And they returned and said, returned and said, according to our ways and according to our doing, so have he dealt with us. So it said right here, this is, this is our fault. We're going through this because our forefathers wouldn't listen. They killed all the prophets. It doesn't matter when, anytime you try to tell them to do right, they always turned around and did wrong. Then said the angel of the Lord. Oh, sorry, we skip it down to verse 12 right now. Then said the angel of the Lord. Then the angel of the Lord answered and said, "O Lord of hosts," basically, Zechariah had got another word from the Lord, and he was having a conversation with this angel. And the angel asked the Lord, basically how long here in this verse. Then says the angel of the Lord answered and said, "O Lord of hosts, how long wilt thou not have mercy on Jerusalem and on the cities of Judah, against which thou hast had indignation these 70 years?" So he's showing them right there and there. He like, yeah, he want to know. Which, by the way, I'm gonna do a presentation later on about that 70 years, because that's the 70 years of Daniel. But I'm gonna do a presentation on that later on. But it said, how long are you gonna have indignation on them? And the Lord answered and said, and the Lord answered the angel and talked with me with good words and comfortable words. So the angel that commanded with me said unto me, "Cry thou, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, I am jealous for Jerusalem and for Zion with a great jealousy, and I am sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease. For I was but a little displeased, and they helped forth the affliction." So all that bad stuff that we went through slavery, the Lord just wanted us to be slapped around a little bit. But they went on here, they castrated us, and they did all type of other stuff to us. They hung us on trees and all that type. They did all type of stuff to us. The Lord didn't want all that done. He just wanted us slapped around a little bit. But they went on here and they took it to a whole nother level. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, I am returned to Jerusalem with mercies. My house shall be built in it, saith the Lord of hosts, and the line shall be stretched forth upon Jerusalem. All righty, so we're gonna go into Zechariah 2, and we're gonna look at this some more. And he says, I lifted up my eyes again and looked, and behold, a man with a measuring line in his hand. We're gonna skip to verse 3. And behold, the angels that talked with me went forth, and another angel went out to meet him and said unto him, Run, speak to this young man, saying, Jerusalem shall be inhabited as a town without walls, for the multitude of men and cattle therein. For I said, the Lord will be unto her a wall of fire round about, and will be the glory in the midst of her. Ho, ho, come forth and flee from the land of the north, saith the Lord, for I have spread you abroad as the four winds of heaven, saith the Lord. The four winds of heaven are the four major Gentile kingdoms of the world. All right, and I'm gonna do a presentation on that as well later on down the line. Deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwellest with the daughter of Babylon. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, after the glory hath he sent me unto the nations which spoiled you. For he that toucheth you toucheth the apple of his eye. For behold, I will shake my hand upon them, and they shall be a spoil. They shall be a spoil to their servants, and you shall know that the Lord of hosts hath sent me. Sing and rejoice, O daughter of Zion. For lo, I come and I will dwell in the midst of thee, saith the Lord. And many nations shall be joined unto the Lord in that day. Now, here we go with the many nations again. So to everybody who talking about only Israel, here we go with that many nations again. I don't know how many times the Lord got to say it, but here we go. And many nations shall be joined to the Lord in that day, and shall be my people, and I will dwell in the midst of thee, and thou shalt know that the Lord of hosts has sent me unto thee. All righty, so we're gonna move on. Now we're gonna read about, now we're gonna deal with some of this information that's on the screen. We're gonna go to the book of Obadiah. And we're gonna start at But before we do that, we're gonna deal with this what's on the screen here. So we're gonna deal with who inhabits the land of Israel today. Because I know a lot of y'all ask, so if the people over there are not the children of Israel, who are they? And so here we are here. Today the land is inhabited by the children of Esau, which is Edom, and the children of Ishmael, which is the Arabs. And the two groups have been in conflict over this land since 1948. That's that Palestinian Israeli war. They've been in conflict over this land since 1948. Edomite Jews, they also go by the name Ashkenaz to have their true identity. Now, remember, I told y'all that the Ashkenaz is going to come up again. Now, Ashkenaz is the son of Japhet. Now, why would they be calling themselves Ashkenaz when Edom? You can go and read in Genesis. I don't have my other notebook here. I'll give it to y'all in a minute, but you can go and read about Esau coming from Esau being the twin brother of Jacob. So with Esau being the twin brother of Jacob, we know Jacob is descended from Shem. Ashkenaz is descended from Japhet. So they can't be the same people. And remember that goes back to what I was saying about is more people that descended from Shem other than just Israelites. So you notice anytime you say anything about them people over there, they say, oh, it's anti-Semitic, right? But anytime anybody, it's a whole lot of Arab slander, but nobody say that's anti-Semitic. They come out of Shem too. Semitic just mean you from Shem. So that's anti-Semitic as well. So we gotta be careful with what we dealing with when we dealing with Semitics. We gotta be aware of who we're dealing with and who these people come from. Okay, so they had under this name, and then in the example, the Ashkenazi Jew. And so who really is Esau? Esau is the twin brother of Jacob, one of the forefathers of Israel, and the father of the Edomites. He is descended from Shem as well, and his lineage is Mount Seir. All right, so with that being said, I'm gonna put this other slide up, and we're gonna go and read. We're gonna go and read in the book of Obadiah. It only got one chapter, so we're gonna start at verse 1. The vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord God concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. The pride of thine heart have deceived thee. Thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that said in his heart, who shall bring me to the ground? Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, as though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. We're gonna skip down to verse 6. How are the things of Esau searched out? So right there, he just straight called them out right there. He ain't even passed go on that. Said, how are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All of the men of that confederacy have brought thee even unto the border, to the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee, and there is none understanding in him. Shall I not in that day, saith the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and the understanding out of the mount of Esau? And thy mighty men, O Taman, shall be dismayed, to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. In the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that strangers carried away captive his forces, and foreigners entered into his gates, and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou was as one of them. But thou shouldest not have looked on the day of thy brother, in the day that he became a stranger. Neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. Neither shouldest thou have spoken proudly in the day of distress. Thou shouldest not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. Yeah, thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction, in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. Neither shouldest thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those that did escape. Neither shouldest thou have delivered up those that did remain in the day of distress. And so, any one of you who escaped from that 70 AD, which we about to read about on the screen now, anybody that escaped, you had Edom right there to catch you and take you right home. You missed some. Here goes some more of them right here. Take them too. Because if they want to take our substance, you can't have two people around saying, "Hey, I'm this and I'm that." The people look different. So you can't have these people around saying, "Hey, I'm this person and I'm that person." You can't have them around. So you got to get rid of them people. So now we go deal with a little bit of, first let's go to Revelation 2. Let's go to Revelation 2. And another thing to add, the curses just don't fit those people. For it to be those people, the curses don't fit. And I'm gonna read something else about when the Lord said he was gonna return Israel. But the curses just don't fit. You got to figure out who these curses fit. And that's when you'll find out who the people are. And so, all right, we go read one of the Lord's messages to one of these churches. And this is this church in Smyrna. We're going to start at, we in Revelation 2 and verse 8. All right. And it says, until the angel of the church in Smyrna write, these things saith the first and the last, which was dead and is alive. I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them, which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Now, I didn't say that. The book said that. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and you shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. He that have an ear, let him hear what the Spirit said unto the churches. He that overcometh shall not be hurt by the second death. All right, so there we go. We just the Lord said out his own mouth, those not the people. They say they are, but they not. That's blasphemy. All right, so let's deal with what's up on the screen here. All right, so according to how did Israel get into Africa? So according to the Roman historian Josephus, during the Roman Jewish War from 66 through 70 AD, millions of Jews fled into Africa to get away. They was fleeing even before but in 70 AD after Jerusalem was sacked and burned to the ground, any Jews who did not escape were captured and scattered across the Mediterranean. Some were sold to the Arabs, and the rest were taken to Africa by ship. Most of those were killed, and the children were taken to this coast. And the people who brought them there named it the Kingdom of Judah, or the Kingdom of Wida, or the Kingdom of Waida. So as we can see here, we have here. This is a map. This is a map of Africa, doing that slave trade. These are the slave coasts. This is that Kingdom of Judah that they talked about, that they took us to. All right. So now we have a bigger map. I wish I could make it bigger. But see, now we have a bigger map. That Kingdom of Judah is right up in here in that Negro land area. Is right up in here. And so once again, we see now, let's go back to that DNA thing real quickly. And I'm gonna get off of it. But let's go back to that DNA thing. They said when you go and do any DNA of any African American, they gonna say sub-Saharan, 72% sub-Saharan, and this and that, right? This Negro land is above. This Negro land is above. That's Saharan African. That on down on the Sahara would be here, on down through all here. That's what a Sahara is. So if we were sub-Saharan, because it can't be here. That's above the Saharan. So if we were sub-Saharan, that would mean anywhere above, below that line. So can't be sub-Saharan. It can't be sub-Saharan. And not to mention, look at all these different places here. You know, you can't just isolate and say sub-Saharan, you know, Africa. You know, because when you take the DNA of a regular, you know, African, and not one of us, you take the DNA of a regular African, there's not going to say sub-Saharan. It's going to say whatever nation they are. And so I just want to point that out to y'all real quick. All right, so moving on. These are my sources, and we got a few more scriptures to hit, and then we'll be done. I'm gonna get y'all out of here. All right, so we going to Isaiah 11. We're going to Isaiah 11, and we're gonna pick this up at verse 1. We're gonna read verse 1 and 2, and then we're gonna skip down, because this is talking about a little bit more of that return. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and the branch shall grow out of his roots. And the spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and might, the spirit of knowledge and of the fear of the Lord. All right, so let's skip down to verse 5. And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid. Now it look like to me, it say the wolf shall dwell with the lamb. The wolf still eating the lamb. The leopard shall lie down with the kid. The leopard still eating the kid. Kid is a baby goat. And the calf and the young lion and the fatling together. You put a baby cow by a lion and you watch what happens. Even the young lion, you watch what happens. And the little child shall lead them. All right, so these are all things that the Lord said was going to be there, you know, when he returned. But you know, we don't see that there. We don't see that there, you know. And the cow and the bear shall feed, and their young ones shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox. So we see right there, we see none of these things are true today. The lion ain't eating no straw. The lion still eating the ox. You know, it said they was gonna, you know, lay down, they was gonna be able to lay down together. It said, and the suckling child shall play on the hole of the ass, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockatrice den. Those are poison. Those are snakes and poison snakes. You go be able to play with a snake, and the snake not gonna bite you. It says here in verse 9, they shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea. So it's saying nobody, he gonna make a covenant with these, and ain't gonna be no more hurting in this holy mountain. Ain't gonna be no, it's gonna be peace. You know, this is his 1,000-year king. It's gonna be peace. And then that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people, and to it shall the Gentiles seek, and its rest shall be glorious. All righty. And sorry. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Paphros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea. Now, all those that I read were all black nations. And when they get to the islands of the sea, that's talking about, you know, that's talking about America and Europe, and that's talking about all us now. Those are the islands of the sea. That's when he got to us. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and he shall assemble the outcasts of Israel and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. So once again, we see here that, you know, Israel is scattered to the four corners of the earth. All righty, so let's go to Deuteronomy just to give you a little hope, because it ain't all doom and gloom. We gonna, by the way, this is the last scripture, and this will be the end of the presentation. All right, so we're going to Deuteronomy 30. We're gonna read these. We're gonna read what happened when we return. All righty. So we're gonna start at verse 1. On the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations whither the Lord thy God have driven thee, and shall return unto the Lord thy God, and shall obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, and thou and thy children with all thine heart and with all thy soul. Then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity. So he said, you're gonna turn your captivity. You ain't gonna be a captive no more, and have compassion upon thee, and return and gather thee. Now he said he gonna return and gather you. He ain't gonna send another Moses. He gonna return and gather you from all the nations where the Lord thy God has scattered thee. If any of thine be driven out unto the outermost parts of heaven, talking about the earth, because there's three heavens, the earth is one of them. I'm gonna give a lesson on that in a little bit too. From thence will the Lord thy God gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. And the Lord thy God will bring thee into a land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it, and he will do thee good and multiply thee above thy fathers. So he gonna take you back to the land by way of the wilderness. And the Lord thy God will circumcise thine heart and the heart of thy seed to love the Lord thy God with all thy soul and with all thy heart, with all thine heart and with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. That's them commandments. That's them commandments again. Now let's skip down to verse 8. And thou shalt return and obey the voice of the Lord and do all his commandments, which I command thee this day. And the Lord thy God will make thee plenteous in every work of thine hand, and in the fruit of thine body, and in the fruit of thine cattle, and in the fruit of thy land for good. For the Lord will again rejoice over thee for good, as he rejoiced over thy fathers. If thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God to keep his commandments and his statutes, which are written in this book of the law, and if thou turn unto the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul. All righty, so here we got the Lord telling us that, hey, we when we return, you're not gonna have none of this stuff, that our forefathers did, this serving other gods, and this, he's not gonna have all this stuff. He gonna teach us his ways. He gonna teach us his laws and his statutes, and that's what we're gonna have to do to get into the land. So I hope somebody got some understanding from this presentation. I'm sorry if it was a little long-winded. I had to do a lot of research, and I really wanted to, make sure it was as smooth as possible for you all. So yeah, I want to say thank y'all for y'all time. And like I said, I hope somebody got some edification from this presentation. Thank you.
All right. So first of all, I want to give a major shout out to brother Eddie Israel. Let me go and put this in the back. He must have timed this thing out perfect, because I'm looking at 2 minutes to spare before 2.5 hours. So he timed this thing out perfect. Let me say this first. People often criticize what they can't do. I've debated before. I've had to put together slideshow presentations, and the amount of time and effort that it takes to go into these things, if you're not actually doing it, all you can do is sit on the sideline and criticize. I realize when it comes to scripture, people are always going to have their disagreements about scripture, which is fine. That's why we have these spaces. But I will say to you, brother, that this was probably one of the most edifying things done on this channel. Y'all know what kind of channel I have. They don't ever let me forget. But I think that this, when I decided to do this stuff, this is what I had in mind. To give you guys a platform, unbiased. You don't have a bunch of nutbags in the chat room calling you names and criticizing you just because they don't agree with what you think, or their guy isn't winning, or whatever foolishness is going on. I think you did a fantastic job. I agree, Michelle. Michelle said this was very. Can you guys hear me? You can hear me, right, Eddie? I'm just talking. I don't know. Uh, Michelle says this was very edifying. I can't wait
Yeah, I
until
can hear you.
you.
I'm muting myself.
Okay, she says I can't wait until your next presentation. I did get that date wrong with the next presentation. For some reason, I said it was the 26th. It's not. It's it's in November. It's November 19th, I think, somewhere around there. But as again, as somebody who's done this before, I just it's funny. I was just putting all my slideshow presentations in the folder yesterday, and I'm like, man, I did a lot of work here. This was this was really good, like very scripture heavy, like very scripture heavy, which I don't see how anybody could complain with the scripture. Now, your interpretation of it, they may it's debatable. People may have something to say against it, but I don't see how people could complain and have pushback against what is written. Everything doesn't always have to be a debate. If I give anybody an opportunity to present, if they want to teach a lesson, Stacey Mobley is going to be teaching a lesson after his interview. Anybody want to teach a lesson? Eddie Israel is going to be back teaching another lesson. Jansen and Duran, they know that they're always welcome to do it. So I have no issue. I thank you for doing this. I thought it was fantastic. I'm gonna go back and listen to it because I got questions. But naturally, whenever I'm doing these shows, I don't have the time because I'm doing a million other things. As I'm listening to you, I'm also getting ready for another show on top of it. So when I'm at work, I get to actually go back and listen to them, and then that's when I can say, huh, he's going to have to explain this or he's going to have to explain this. But we did go past the time, so I will not be opening the floor for anybody to come up. But I will just ask you one question, though. How come? So Romans 15:4, whatsoever things are written aforetime is written for our learning. How come people push back so much on what's written? Every time you bring up Deuteronomy, every time you bring up the Old Testament, oh, we're not under that anymore. We're not under, but it's written. Like, how come? Why is there always so much pushback? That's my question to you.
You was asking me that question.
Yeah.
I Hey, I don't know. I mean, because I know I was taught growing up that the Old Testament was done away with, and so because I was taught growing up that the Old Testament was done away with, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people was taught that, you know, uh, a lot of people don't believe the Old Testament. So when you go and read anything in there, you know, they just won't listen to it because they don't believe that we even under the Old Testament. But as I just read a lot of those prophecies, those are end time. That's stuff that haven't happened yet. These are end time prophecies. And Jeremiah's full of them, Ezekiel's full of them, Daniel's full of them. Then you even talks about the major four kingdoms of the world. By the way, he was in the second kingdom. He wasn't even in that third and fourth kingdom yet. He was in the second kingdom when he wrote that. So it's just we've been taught not to go into the Old Testament. So because we've been taught that, we don't go there.
So I did get a message, and I'll tell you who it's from off air. It says, let me see. This is a I will not comment in the chat, but this is a misrepresentation of Deuteronomy 28. He's making a modern day application to a chapter that was fulfilled in Babylonian captivity. Maybe you could find someone who's willing to debate me on Deuteronomy 28. So I'll tell you off air who that was. But again, I'm not here to say what I agree with or what I don't agree with, but I tell you, you did make what I do like is you made some scripture, you brought scripture, and then you made modern day references to it, like to where you can't dispute it. Like some things I'm listening and I'm like, huh, my eye, my eyes is perking up. You know what I mean? So I think you did a fantastic job though. And I could tell you don't do much of this. I could tell, like, you could hear the nerves in you. So um I always say, because I talked to Eddie on the outside. Like, Eddie is one. I talked to Duran on the outside. I talked to Jansen on the outside. Like, those are ones that I actually talk to on the outside, because when I talk to them, they don't make everything about them. They ask me how I'm doing. You know what I mean? So my platform is always open to them if they want to do anything. And Eddie will be doing another presentation. I got to get that date. Hold on. Jansen says, "Hey, my presentation was the same." I don't know, Jansen. I don't know, man. Let me, because I got to look at the date that I had set for Eddie's next presentation, because I keep getting everything wrong. So we have it set for where is it? Um, man, I got so many things coming up on this channel. Um, um, um. Oh, here it is right here. It's set for November the 9th. Okay, I don't know why I said the 26th, but of October. It is set for November the 9th. So Eddie will be back with another presentation. Like I said, man, I think you did a fantastic job. And the one thing about this presentation, you had people going back and forth about the presentation. That's how I gauge how good something is. They weren't going back and forth arguing with one another about foolishness that happened years ago. They were going back and forth about the current presentation. And that's how you know that what you're doing was good, because whether they agree or not, at least they're having a gripe about the information that's being presented. So again, I think you did a fantastic job. I can't wait until the next one, so you can go ahead and give your close out, and then I can go ahead and close the show out.
All right, so I just want to say I want to thank everybody here for
Your
their
mic got
time.
low too all of a sudden. Your mic got
Oh,
low all of a sudden. I don't know what happened.
man, let me see if I can turn it up a little bit.
Or just put it closer to your mouth or something. I don't know, because it just got low.
Can you hear me now? Is it better?
Yeah, you good. You good.
Is it better now?
Yeah, right there. Perfect.
Okay. I just want to say I want to thank everybody for coming out, tonight and giving me, y'all time. Like I said, I know it was long winded, but I tried to make it as slim as possible. I got more information too, because I know a lot of people got questions, but like I said, I want to make it as slim as possible, because I know when I was first learning this, man, I almost fell asleep. I'm telling you the truth, because it could be long winded, but it's definitely worthwhile in learning. And I also want to say this was not to show any hate to any group of people. And with my next lesson, I'm going to show that just because we Israel, the physical seed, that don't mean that you got to take it straight into the kingdom. Because we got a lot of people out here that's saying that hey, white people the devil, white people Esau, only Israel gonna be saved, and all. That's not what we're here for. So I just wanted to thank y'all again for y'all time, and I want everybody to have a good night, and I want y'all to bask on this information, really think about it, and if y'all got any questions, just give them to Trevor, and I'll answer them. Well, one of my cohorts will answer. So I want to thank y'all again, and y'all have a good night.
Yeah,
Peace.
I think, like I say, I think the brother did a fantastic job, man. And which is why I wanted to give him his own spotlight, because whenever he's on, everybody overtalks him and things like that. So I'm like, all right, I got an opportunity. I'm gonna just give him the mic by himself and let him do his thing. And I think the brother just did a fantastic job. Like I said, I talked to him on the outside, so this was very refreshing, very refreshing. That's all I could say. There are people that have a lot of complaints about what you said. But that's another thing for another day. Just I thought it was very informative, and you brought scripture. So if anybody's gonna dispute anything, you dispute scripture because he presented the info for you. I know MD had a lot to say. I'll talk to MD on the back end and see, his exact gripes, and then I'll give them to you. But I thought it was great, man. So from the Straight Talk Society, I appreciate it. Great job, because I know how long these things could be, and I know the type of requirement it is to try to put these presentations together and pull information and try to ignore the chat when you got people criticizing you. It's hard. It's hard to get, to not look over and be like, you know what, blah blah blah. It's hard. So I get it. So again, like I said, I think you did a fantastic job. So but I'll get up with you on the weekend or something, you know and we can go over some things. I think Eddie's tired now.
All right, peace, brother.
All right, peace.
Yeah, I need some water, and I need water and everything else.
Eddie just talked for 2.5 hours, man. He's tired. All right, Eddie, I'm going to put you in the back so I can close out. All right. Oh, Straight Talk Society. There you have it. Another fantastic episode. Man, I thought the brother did real good. I mean, you could tell he was nervous because that's how it is. You be nervous when you're doing this in front of people because people always criticize everything. People going to criticize you for everything you do. Trust me, I know about it because they criticize me. They criticize me and say all type of bad things about me when they do the exact same thing that I do, but they had to put on a front. It's all good though, because the debates will not stop. The presentations will not stop because Eddie Israel will be back November the 9th to do another presentation over here on the Straight Talk Society. So before we go out, let me just run you down real quick with the debates that we have going on. Where is it? On November the 2nd, that's in a couple of weeks, we have Brother Duran will be taking on Reginald Young. And the topic of that debate is, does the Bible teach the Holy Ghost is God or an angel? So that's going to be a powerful debate with those two brothers. Can't wait for that to come up. Then on November 16th, you just got I don't know if you guys watch Family Guy. I don't know. But there's a Peter Griffin always fights the chicken, and that's how I feel about these two. These two will be battling it out from here to the end of time. You have Reginald Young. Let me take this down. You have Reginald Young will be taking on. All right, Jansen. Reginald Young will be taking on Peter Cox, and this is a very interesting topic because this topic is these brothers are affirming something in their lives, and they're going to justify it according to the Bible. So it's going to be a 2-round debate. The first round will be, did Peter Cox see God? Peter Cox makes the claim that he saw God. Reginald Young does not believe that at all. Peter Cox is going to prove that he saw God, and he's going to give scriptural evidence to back it up. And then in the second round, Peter Cox is saying, well, if you want me to do that, then you prove to me that you're a God-called minister. That's the important thing. So Reggie has to prove, according to scripture, that he is a God-called minister. And that will be taking place November 16th at 6 p.m. I can't wait to see how that one turns out, because I don't know. I really don't know. And then next Thursday, we will be having the interview with Brother Stacy Mobley. That's a really good brother. That's another one that I talked to on the outside. These guys call me and they actually call me to see how I'm doing, versus always wanting to know, whatever. These guys, these are some real good brothers, man. So I will be interviewing Stacey Mobley coming up next week, Thursday. And speaking of Stacey Mobley, he does have a challenge out for any Israelite that is listening. Let me pull it up. He has a challenge on these 3 different topics. If anybody wants to take it, can they prove that they are physical? Can they prove they are Israelites? Physical lineage. He wants you to prove the physical lineage of you being an Israelite. The second one, that the Israelites are God's people today. So he wants you to prove that the Israelites, these Hebrew Israelites that you claim, the people say they are God's people today. He wants that proven. And third, that the law of Moses is the law that we're under today. So he doesn't believe that we're under the law today. And fourth, that salvation is just for the Jews and anything else pertaining to their belief. So basically, Stacey Mobley is saying this. He's here to tear it down. That's basically what he's saying. So he's saying bring whatever doctrine you have and he'll debunk it. So that challenge is out there. If anybody wants to step up to that challenge, you know how to reach me, straighttalkwithtrevor@gmail.com. Or those of you who have my phone number, you can go ahead and shoot me a text or give me a call. I'd rather you text me just because I probably won't answer if I don't know the number. But hey, that's it, man. Fantastic presentation again by Eddie Israel, man. Shout out to who is this? Bold Works. Everybody that's in the chat tonight. MD Jansen is saying tell MD to give his lesson about it. Jansen, I was shocked that MD was so interested in this, because that's not MD is our political guy. I don't know him to be so interested in this, but he was very, very tuned into this. So I'll reach out to him and see what's up. But shout out to Adrian Cutler. I see Adrian Cutler is in the chat making trouble tonight, but it's all good. Jackie McCall was in here earlier. Deron, Michelle. Yeah, peace to everybody that's watching in the clouds. Please make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe button on your way in and out. Please make sure to thumb up this video. And with all that being said, I leave you with these words. Always seek out the truth for yourself, because if not, you'll fall victim to other people's interpretations of them. Until tomorrow night, we got a UFC preview show. Peace.